So dear representative of the Israeli government, administration, public administration, dear representative of the Israeli industry, dear Lionel, the EDF team, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, I would like first and foremost to thank EDF-EM and the EDF group which made this conference this morning possible, and to thank you all of you of course, for being here, and to allow us to have fruitful debates on the role of renewable energy in general and wind energy in particular in Israel. We wanted to organize this conference because we think that this is the right moment to raise the subject, but this conference is also part of our effort as the French Embassy in Israel as part of our effort to raise the awareness and the ambition for the incoming crucial conference in Paris. As an opening today, I want to take a few minutes to emphasize the importance we put into this Paris Climate Conference, to give you some insight about how we can foresee the outcome today, and lastly, I would like to focus on Israel and the role that the renewable energy could or should play in this country. So, as most of you are well aware, if not directly involved, France is hosting and presiding the 21st Conference of the Parties, COP, on climate change, what we call the COP21 on the Paris 2015 conference. It will begin in exactly 40 days from now, on November 30, and will be closed on December 11. This conference is crucial for all of us. This is this very year that all of the 196 countries signing parties intend to make a breakthrough and to set the rules for the next 15 years at least to contain climate change. This breakthrough should take the form of a new international agreement applicable to all countries, allowing us to maintain global warming below 2 Celsius degrees. And this conference is particularly important for France since we accepted to organize it in Paris. This gives us, first of all, the responsibility to welcome some 40,000 participants from all the 196 countries called to sign the agreement. This is not a small task, as you can imagine. But this also gives us a special responsibility in making a deal possible by fostering global awareness worldwide and by fostering and easing the debate before and during the conference. Our collective ambition is clear, and we strongly believe it is an achievable one. We aim at having, on December 11, a universal and legally binding agreement tackling both mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Our goal is also to secure the financing of $100 billion per year from 2020 by developed countries to support the efforts of the developing ones. We can say today that we are on good tracks so far, even though we are not there yet. As I am speaking, the delegations are gathered in Bonn, in Germany, for a new and last round of negotiation before the Paris conference. This is a moment of truth for us. We have reasons to have faith, since we had a few successes in the past few weeks. 149 national contributions were submitted on the deadline, or by the deadline, October 1st, including the Israeli contribution. These contributions represent 87% of the world emissions today. This is already a real achievement regarding the effort it represented for all the countries, and this sets an example, and we expect that most of the remaining countries will submit their commitments by December. This first wave of contribution is encouraging, but we already assessed what it represents in terms of emissions. According to our models, we are not totally there yet, so we still need to go a bit further collectively. We also made progress on the financing issue. We had secured 62 billion, so it's billion per year after 2020, in 2014, so last year. The multilateral development banks added 15 more billion, and some countries decided to raise the commitment. This is the case of France. Our commitment with increase from 3 billion today to 5 billion a year from 2020. We are discussing now the draft agreement, which was considerably shortened compared to the previous versions. This text is a draft. By definition, it is not perfect, but this is a reasonable basis according to us. Our goal is to get, after Bonn, an ambitious text reflecting the priorities of the parties and, if possible, already settling some of the main pending issues. The next step will be the pre-COP in Paris, November 8, with 80 of the 196 countries. The pre-COP will be our last meeting to close as many topics as possible and allow us to hope to have an agreement during the COP itself. I want to mention also the importance we put in the civil society, and most of you today represent this society. Everyone is an actor of climate change, and we see that the non-state actors are more advanced than their governments in many countries. They will have a dedicated pavilion in Paris, and we launched, with the Peruvian presidency, a Lima Paris action plan to support the involvement of the civil society on these issues. So regarding now the specific situation of Israel, we noticed, of course, with great satisfaction that the contribution was submitted on time on September 30, with a target of 8.8 tons of greenhouse gases emissions per capita in 2025 and 7.7 tons in 2030. Israel is not decreasing its global emissions, unlike Europe, for instance. In Europe, we committed to curb by 40% our emissions by 2030 globally. Nevertheless, the booming demography of Israel, in particular since the reference point of 1990, make the approach per capita relevant to some extent, and Israel's ambition is stronger than it may seem. What is key, according to us, is the capability to fulfill these commitments. This should lead to an ambitious but achievable action plan with enough milestones on the road. We noted in particular the objectives of 17% reduction by 2030 of electricity consumption and 20% reduction of usage of private vehicles compared to a situation without intervention. And we are, of course, waiting for the publication of the action plan in November. The development of renewable energy will have a key role. The European commitment is to have 27% of renewable energy in the final consumption of energy by 2030. For France, it's even 32%. Israel set slightly different targets, 13% of electricity production by 2025 and 17% by 2030. When you take into consideration the absence of, or quasi-absence of hydroelectricity potential in Israel, these targets seem reasonably ambitious to us, which means that the country has to set adequate measures to allow these targets to be reached. One issue is to diversify the renewable mix. This is what wind energy brings, and we will underline this morning a few of the advantages to have wind turbines in the electricity mix and a few conditions to increase this share. And to tackle the issue of its drawbacks, of course. We begin to have experience and insight, which is important to share. Another topic is storage, in particular pump storage. Israel has launched its first programs. We do strongly support them regarding what they bring to the grid. So this is time now to dive into the subject of our morning. Thank you for your attention. I will never repeat enough how much the mobilization of everyone is key for success in a few weeks in Paris. תודה רבה לכולכם.